Welcome to the Whiskey Congress. Honest, open talk dedicated to speaking the truth to those who are open to hearing it. Black, white, right, left. Most importantly, honest, bold, and fueled by good whiskey. In Whiskey Veritas, we are Whiskey Congress. Join the evolution.
Whiskey Congress is back in session. Stephen and I are together in the Cleveland studio on a beautiful sunny day, right after the presidential debate, which we talked about going into it, and I did say that I wasn't sure if Trump would even show. He did, I guess, but we can get to that in a bit. I'm here with Steve. We are together in the Cleveland studio. How's it going?
Good, man. Good. Had a nasty stomach bug. Probably started on my birthday, which was Friday last week. And then it really took off Saturday night, and then had me down Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, with some very unpleasant things happening. And Jim, you ever shoot yourself?
I don't know if this is a George Brett reference or a serious question. I did once.
It's both. It's both.
Once.
If you don't know the...
In my 53 years of life, I, at one point, did.
Yeah. If you don't know the George Brett reference, it's old... it's Jim Rome, and it's a weird situation where George Brett, an old baseball player, just gets caught on a hot mic telling the story how he shits himself in Vegas. But the reason why I bring that up is because that's what I was dealing with, just straight water coming out the back and then puking coming out the front. It was
that's awful.
And then in 90 minutes, I shit myself twice. Like, it was so bad.
I've done it once in 53 years. You did it
twice in 90 minutes. Yeah.
Congratulations. I don't know
I guess. Winner. Chicken dinner, I guess. But anyway, so we got through that, and just still fighting the fight with the company and making progress and starting to see the fruits of our labor and doing people are starting to do the thing that I know, one of the things that you hate most in life, and that's people telling me that I've been right.
Well, it doesn't happen very often, so I don't hate it very much.
But yeah, no, the things are good. So, I mean, we'll jump right in. We'll jump right in with the debate.
First of all, that was a dick move by you, but reasonably funny, so I'll let it go. All right.
Okay.
So, did you watch the debate?
Yeah. No, I watched. I think I watched almost all of it, except for maybe like the last few minutes of the closing statements. I had just kind of had enough at that point, but watched it live and in real time. I had said before that it was going to be an uphill climb for Harris because of Trump's style, right? Like, and I heard this over the course of the week that Trump has done more presidential debates than anyone because he's ran for president three times.
Okay.
And then, the number of debates that they had back in 2015 leading up because they had so many candidates. And then obviously he, debates again in 2020 and now he's debating again. For this run here in 2024. So, yeah, I guess he has done the most debates. So again, like I said, he wasn't going to not do the debate because of the spotlight. And I think he did look bad in this one. I think most people will acknowledge it. Even his team will acknowledge it, not to his face, right? And they won't say it in the media, but it sounds like, the backdoor, the back channel whispers are saying that, he didn't follow their plan. And it's like, why did you think that he would, but she baited him multiple times with the crowd size and stuff like that. He took it hook, line, and sinker. He awkwardly forced in the, Twitter X talking points, people eating cats and all that other stuff. So it went better than, I think I had a darker outlook because I just thought that if he's able to just sort of ramble and there's not a lot of pushback on him, even if she delivered a good performance, it would be easy for his camp to say he won, and then you'll get people in the media who like to push buttons who'll just say that he did better just so that they could stir the pot. But I think that the contrast was so stark that no one is sitting there saying that he won. But they are kind of resting on the fact that ABC didn't push back on Kamala Harris on much. They did push back on him a lot, as they should have, because he was just full of shit the whole night. She did a good job. I thought there was some. She did do a lot of sort of misdirection and not really answering a few key questions. But that happens with any politician in debates. And I think that's where ABC could have pushed back on her more, just to make it more balanced and for a better, perception. But what do you think?
Well, I'll tell you, this is going to be a weird analogy, but it reminded me of a Floyd Mayweather fight where she was just slipping he was trying to be aggressive, trying to do whatever, and she just took what he threw and countered perfectly. So she looked like a slick defensive boxer who just knew when to duck, when to land, and made him look bad. He did his normal shit, like you said. He called her a Marxist. I love the fact that they're using that term, because people who use that term clearly don't know what the fuck a Marxist is.
Well, and he says, her father taught Marxist economics in college. Like,
did say that.
Jim, I don't know. Can you explain why you're laughing?
You know what? I can, because there's no such thing as Marxist. I guess there is such a thing as Marxist economics.
The reason, think about why that's fucking. Everyone who studies economics, right? You're looking at. You start with Marxism, right? And you go through it, right? Like now. Whether it's good or bad that's not the point. The point is that you're looking at just the basic of
providing human needs or providing
of economic needs. Construct, right? You're not looking at it as it's not a political thing, right? It's just it's basic, economics, fucking money science, right? So it's just. Again, they throw these buzzwords out there, and people just throw that shit out there. Oh, Marxism is communism, is socialism, is fascism. It's all the same thing, right? It's not, though.
It's not.
Right? Like,
in fact, it's hard to be a Marxist fascist because they're pretty much conflicting.
And it's just like, are these things connected? Did some of the stuff merge around the same time? And then is there overlap and connectivity between some of these things? Sure, but Marxism does not equal communism. Let's just be semi-intelligent beings here, but it seems like that is long out the window.
Oh yeah, let's talk briefly about the whole eating pets thing, because this should have been.
First of all, it's really hot in here. Can we open the door, window, something? I'm starting to get the meat sweats. Sorry. Anyway, the whole thing with eating pets, Springfield, Ohio, they've had an influx of Haitian immigrants, apparently.
Legal Haitian immigrants.
Yes, legal, for the most part.
Okay, I don't know person to person, but
there was an incident where a kid was hit, was run over by a car. The driver was a Haitian immigrant, but he was here illegally. But it was unintentional. He was an older guy. The family devastated, right? Their kid was killed. And the father actually came out and was like, look, stop using my son's name for political gain. And he was talking to the conservatives, right? It was just like, listen, it was an accident what happened to their son. The driver feels terrible. And, it's not about,
immigration.
Immigration. Like, this is just a tragedy. And the father seemed to be very...
diplomatic?
Yeah, diplomatic, sane, reasonable, practical.
Under a circumstance that neither you or I want to ever put ourselves in that mentality.
Very apolitical. Like, look, we're not getting into politics, and basically we welcome people in our community. What you guys are talking about is insane. Like, let our family grieve. And I thought that was a pretty powerful statement by the dad. But, this whole thing is just insane. Now, I'll say this. Do you know Haitians? Do you know any Haitians?
Not really.
Okay. So going to UMass, I played with guys who were from Haiti, right? We had a couple guys who were, the families were, first generation immigrants from Haiti. they're a wild bunch. I'll just tell you, they are a wild bunch. Like these guys played defense and they were very effective because the number of fucks they gave were 0 on the field and off the field.
Okay.
So I mean, like, look, Haitians have a reputation. The country of Haiti,
voodoo. Is a Haitian thing,
yes, voodoo, and the country has been just ravaged by natural disasters, has been ravaged by corruption, has been ravaged by the U.S. There's a wild story about the U.S. military CIA going to Haiti, right, and pretending to be bank robbers and basically stealing all their money and just walking off the island and leaving them in shambles. It is absolutely insane. It is a true story. How it's not a movie, I do not know.
I don't know. I don't know the story. How long ago were we talking? 20 years?
No. I think it happened. I want to say it happened in like the 50s or the 60s.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Yeah, all right. Something that's not so shocking. What we were doing in Cuba and Haiti and in that era, what the CIA was doing in Cuba and Haiti in that era was occasionally criticized.
So you've got that, like, so the country itself has been ravaged, right? Like, so it's a poor country, and what happens in poor country? Bad shit happens when there is no money, resources, opportunities, stuff like that. So you see some bad and unique behavior out of that group, and the voodoo thing is something that is less to do with money and just their belief system, right? So what I'll say is, I don't know, could there be some voodoo stuff happening with some Haitians in Springfield? Maybe. I don't know. Are Haitians just going and grabbing people's fucking furry cats and eating them? I don't think so.
There is no evidence to support that.
There was a Facebook post who, I don't even know if it was a real Facebook post because it was like a screenshot of a Facebook post, and who knows, that made this claim, and then that has just become like a factual thing in conservative social media world that now the mainstream politicians have taken up and are just blurting out randomly, right? Like they just have nothing else to say. They're eating cats in Springfield. Like, it's insane. This is like a fucked up episode of The Simpsons, basically. And, it goes so high up the chain that Donald Trump says it during the debate on national TV. And it's just like what fucking world are we living in where this is where we're at in our body politic?
Well, so to me, that's like, maybe it's not quite fair to say, like, that's like repeating a flat earther trope. It's like, when you're saying something that is ridiculous, and the ABC did call him out on it, and his response to that was, "I saw it on TV," which is what your dopey racist uncle says at Thanksgiving. Like, this must be true. I saw it on TV. Jamie Moskowitz from Florida, a Democratic representative from Florida, this is purely a trolling move on his part, but he came out with a tweet where he basically said that he's watching Donald Trump and he's concerned about his mental acuity and thinks maybe he should consider dropping out, and I want to respectfully offer him time to consult with his family and his advisors. And he was clearly doing the whole Joe Biden dropped out there, Donnie, why don't you do it too? Which is obviously not going to happen, but he's opening himself up to jabs like that when he says incoherent nonsense that just sounds dumb. The debate did not go well for Trump. Even Brit Hume on Fox and a few others on Fox said that Trump clearly lost the debate. Of course, Sean Hannity was there patting him on the back and letting him talk about how he had the best debate of his career. And as a result, he doesn't need a third debate. And now the Trump campaign has come out and flat out said they do not want a third debate, which I don't care. I mean, to our discussions in the past, I do believe debates matter in today's world because people actually watch them now. It's become theater more than actual policy talk.
What are you talking about? People, like, debates have always been watched. Like,
well, But
I mean, like if you're talking about the gap between like the early 2000s and maybe, you know, I don't know when we didn't watch the debates, really.
I did, but I think that they've become more popular among non-political people.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, because think about, and I'm just thinking, let's just think practically, because you know, in the 60s, 70s, and even through part of the 80s, you only had so many channels.
Sure.
Right, and the debates were on the main channels, right? ABC, CBS, NBC. Only in the recent history have they expanded, you know, and brought in CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, all these other people doing and hosting the debates. And so maybe in the early middle 2000s, there was maybe less interest. And I think when, you know, going back to 2015, when the Republicans had so many candidates, and because remember that first debate, I think they had like 18 candidates or something like that. And they had to split them up, and it was like JV versus varsity, and then like, you know, if you were on the first one, then you might as well have just given up your campaign, that whole thing. I think that, yeah, sure, you probably had a fall off of interest by there was just too much, right? But I think for the most part, people are pretty engaged in presidential debates. Now, the question is, do they actually move the needle on how people vote? Like, I think interest and viewership are separate than impact on how people vote.
I agree with that. And I think you would say that they don't move the needle very much, if at all. And that's probably true. I just think that, you know, for it to be a winning thing for Harris, what she has to do is show, all this shit they've been saying about me, how nothing but, you know, laughing and whatever, and I can't, you know, they say she can't form a coherent sentence. That was one of their playbook things against Biden, and they just recycled it. Well, you watched her on stage, engaged, competent, staring him down when he looked straight ahead, which I don't, you know, if I'm concerned with doing this with you because I'm looking for an opportunity for you to pounce on me over analyzing shit. But I thought that was telling. He was literally staring straight ahead at the camera, and she was looking at him. I just did a head turn because no one can see it, I guess. But that, to me, showed she was on the attack. She was, you know, in the driver's seat, and he was just trying to power through it.
I would say that yes, yeah, you're right. And I don't think there's anything wrong. I don't think that's over-analysis. I think that's accurate. I also think that it also tells you, like his demeanor, he realized that he was up against a different animal than Joe Biden.
Yeah.
And I think they prepared him, but I think he underestimated her as a debater because she did have some, you know, not great performances in debates her first go round, right? Everyone's just like, but she got Joe Biden with the zinger. That was one line in one...
On the stage with 8 other people.
Right, and then she subsequently fell flat on her face. She was the first one to pull out. You know what I mean? Like, so, you know, I think they just underestimated her. They didn't, and not just his administration, I think a lot of people didn't take into account that was 4 years ago. She's been the vice president. You know, like she hasn't been highly visible. And really, what vice president has been,
right?
But she's been working. She's gone to Ukraine. She's gone and traveled the world and talked to people and been engaged and advocated for and discussed policy. And so she's been in these sort of bigger situations that I just don't think that people actually gave her credit for. And it showed. She was a different person on stage than she was the last time that we saw her. That's evolution. That's growth. That's good. That's what should happen. Trump is the same person that we've been seeing on stage for the last, I don't know, 10 years, however long it's been now. And I think that, you know, they tried to prepare him. They told him certain things, don't do this, and just stay focused on this. And when she got out there and just was coherent, where Joe Biden got up there last time he debated him and just kind of was barely mumbling his way through it.
He shit his pants.
Yeah, you know, I mean, you know, Trump then was just, you know, with Biden, he's just, look at this guy, right? I don't even have to say anything. Look at him, right? But he didn't have that option, and she was on the attack. She was on the prowl, and he was knocking off. He was knocked off balance, and you could see that she did a very, like, I look at it more as she's an experienced prosecutor, and that came out because of the way that she would set him up. Like, it's just like you would set up a witness on a cross-examination. She did it multiple times, and he fell into the trap every time. And you know, again, my only real complaint where I think it hurts Democrats is where, and it's not Kamala Harris's fault. This is on ABC and the moderators. They should have pushed back on her more. And I'm not saying that she said anything that was a lie or that was untrue. But I just think that they could have pressed her on some of the issues more, pressed her to answer the questions.
She did dodge questions like politicians always do.
You know, I mean, but they should have pressed her on stuff like that. You know, they should have asked her to get deeper into some of her, like fracking, for instance, right?
Yeah.
You know, they should have pushed her on the fracking. She's like, well, you know, we opened up more leases, you know, like I signed more leases in, and then they should have made her dig in on that a little bit, you know, and talk about her previous stance. You know, just stuff like that I think they could have done better, and then that would have, I think, brought even more validity to her victory, which I think we can all say that that's what that was. You know, so the Republicans are going to just, that MAGA, Republicans, Trump, his whole team, they're just going to lean on the fact that it was unfair because, you know, ABC didn't play nice, and they were mean to their guy, and they were nice to her, and that's their takeaway, right?
Yeah.
Not that their guy got drilled, but that it wasn't a fair playing field.
You know, you made a comment a minute ago that vice presidents are often not particularly visible. The most visible ones in my lifetime by far were Dick Cheney and Al Gore. You know, I think Pence was like a typical vice president, kind of pushed aside. Al Gore was fairly visible. The reason I want to come to this, Dick Cheney has come out and endorsed Kamala Harris.
Dick Cheney wasn't visible.
Okay, he was prevalent.
It was just that everybody kept talking about him because they knew he was the
pushing
one
the buttons.
pushing the buttons.
Okay, fine.
Right? I
He
mean,
has now come out though and endorsed Kamala Harris.
He spent half of his time in office having fucking heart attacks and shooting people in the fucking face.
I'll let you enjoy the moment. He did shoot a guy in the face, and that guy apologized to him. And I once told her, when that happened, I told a Republican friend that I used to hunt with all the time. I said, the guy's name is Tracy. I said, Tracy, if you shoot me in the face, I might forgive you. I might even hunt with you again. There ain't no fucking way I'm apologizing to you for putting my face in line with what you shot, you fucking asshole. And so, have I ever told you the story? I have an inside scoop on that.
Yeah.
I had a cousin who worked in the State Department, and he said literally, like, they were suppressing that story because they weren't sure if he was going to die.
Yeah.
And if the guy died, what was his name? Andrew whatever. But, you know, like, my cousin calls his dad and says, Dad, you're not going to believe this. The vice president just shot a guy. He goes, you can't say anything. And like, literally, they're like, fuck, if this guy dies, we have our spin goes totally differently and whatever. We don't get to talk about Dick Cheney shooting people in the face very often, so thank you for opening that door. But okay,
you opened the door.
I did. I'm fine. But he endorsed Trump. He endorsed Harris. And Jon Stewart did a bit. Dick Cheney has come out and endorsed Kamala Harris. Mr. Vice President, meet me on camera one. Fuck off.
You know, look, I you know, not. He did, and I think it's significant. But again, when you know who you're up against, doesn't matter because all they're going to say, "Well, Dick Cheney's a rhino,"
right?
You know,
which is hysterical,
right? I mean, it is. But that, like anyone if you're either with us or against us, right? That is the MAGA mantra.
100%.
If you
where we
are,
go one, we go all.
Right. If you are not 100% with us, you are against us. If you say anything that steps out of line, you are against us, and therefore. Dick Cheney, Mitt Romney, you know, the people who endorsed Liz Cheney, they're all
Adam Kinzinger.
They're all rhinos. They're all, you know, like they're not real Republicans, and they're not MAGA in MAGA's eyes, right? And so that's how they deflect from that and just kind of keep on walking, and that's how a majority of their people will view it. You know, Elon Musk is one who's gone all in on Donald Trump. his platform, X, is basically a MAGA platform,
Right.
which he wholeheartedly supports and contributes to the point where Trump, this is a couple weeks back, but Trump says, all right, Robert Kennedy is out of the race, and Robert Kennedy has thrown his support behind me, and I'm bringing him into the fold of my campaign, along with Tulsi Gabbard and Elon Musk, and we're going to be the Avengers of politics and come through and free speech and all this stuff. Elon Musk is going to be the head of the Department of Government Efficiency. Because now Trump is saying how great of a business mind that Elon Musk is. Now, mind you, Trump has had critical things to say about Elon Musk in the past. But now they both have value for each other. So Musk is going all out to support Trump. Trump can do no wrong, can say no wrong. Anything done against Trump is a harm against Trump, and Elon Musk amplifies this on his platform. It's his platform, so anytime he puts something out, he tweets it. Everyone is forced to see it, right? Unless you have blocked Elon Musk on your Twitter account. And again, I've had my theory that Elon Musk essentially wants to be Cobra Commander and take over the world, between his Neuralink and the satellites and the cars that, are controlled by the satellites and, all this other stuff. And, he wants to use X as this total platform where you get all your information from X, you get all your news, you watch your TV on X. He wants to turn it into, a platform where you could buy things and where people are just focused on his app all the time, right? Linking it to his cars and then doing all that sort of shit. That's his main focus. If he gets in with the government, then all of a sudden he can keep those government contracts going for, Starlink or Star, whatever.
It might be Starlink.
Yeah, his satellites and the Neuralink and so there's a reason why he's cozying up to Trump, because he knows that Trump will give him all the leeway he needs with access to government to do whatever the fuck he wants. So yeah, he's going to go all in on Trump and support him and hope that he can get in on this, because he knows that Kamala Harris doesn't give a shit about him. When it's all said and done.
And Kamala Harris is talking about raising taxes on billionaires, and
yes.
Elon Musk is Elon Musk. Trump called him Leon. I wanted to get that in there, and then I said to myself, it's probably financially in his best interest for Trump to win, because Trump likes.
Elon Musk is a fucking trillionaire.
Is he technically?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't think it's even technically. I mean, I think he's, well above the $1 trillion threshold, which is insane. Now, it's stack actions.
No, you're making me laugh, though, because of the show Silicon Valley, when the guy loses his status as a trillionaire. He had 3 commas in his net worth, and he got down to several hundred billion, and it was like, I missed my 3rd comma.
Yeah,
That's obscure. If you don't know it, I'm sorry.
No,
it's funny.
I don't think there's any risk of Elon Musk losing any commas. But, and that's the frustrating part, right? And then I've been saying this for a while, but at some point, you have to remove, when do I remove myself from his sort of atmosphere? Because, the guy just doesn't represent anything that I do. And even by being on his app, it still promotes it. Even though we don't pay for it, there's still a benefit to us being there and contributing to it. So where is that line of, fuck that, I'm just not putting money in this guy's pocket?
You do our social media, or at least our X/Twitter stuff, and I would assume, we've had this agreement, that's your realm, and you've been pretty active. I would prefer you stayed active, because I don't believe in the whole, by being there, you're necessarily we're not giving him enough weight that it changes anything, and having a dissenting voice is valuable. Having said that, if you want to say, fuck it, I can't deal with these nonsense.
I don't think there's a value to having a dissenting voice there, because he literally tamps it down through the algorithm.
Okay.
Right?
Again, it's your call.
And there's other platforms, right? Like Threads it's not great, but it's starting to grow. Which Elon Musk.
Truth Social. Just dying on the vine.
There's Blue Sky. There's other avenues out there if you really wanted to push it. But I thought I'd throw that out there. Another social media person, Laura Loomer, who is very large on the Twitter platform.
Oh, okay.
I'm sure she's on Truth and all that other stuff, but her biggest following is on Twitter. Laura Loomer, she just a gross human in every sense of the word. She's a conspiracy theorist. She was banned from Twitter when Jack Dorsey had it. Elon Musk takes it over. He lets her back on, and then she picks up where she left off. She puts out these conspiracy theories. She says she's got receipts and proof, but a lot of it is bullshit, lies, fake, doctored, whatever, edited. And she is she's a provocateur. That's just
sure.
Her, Nick Fuentes. There's a video of her and Nick Fuentes, cheersing with champagne. Say, hey, the takeover of the MAGA party and Republicans and all this other stuff. And it's just, he's another disgusting human. They're bad people. And I'm basing this off of what they say and the things that they promote. You say these sort of things like Nick Fuentes is he hates the Jews and he says it on a regular basis. He's said very disparaging, derogatory, racist remarks about black people and Hispanic people, which is weird because his last name is Fuentes, and I don't know how that all works.
I always wondered that
together.
myself.
He looks like a dweeby white guy, but and with Fuentes, it could be Spanish. I don't know.
Sure,
but. Laura Loomer comes out and she's like, well, if Kamala Harris wins the White House, it'll smell like curry and they'll use a call center to, right. Just real dog shit, racist comments about Indian people, right? And then, of all people, Marjorie Taylor Greene comes out and says that Laura Loomer made racist comments about Kamala Harris and she's a racist and Donald Trump shouldn't really associate with her. And I'm like, what the fuck is happening?
You're looking at your Twitter going, wait a minute. No, that's
Jim?
Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Well, I had to look to see if it was like a parody, a Marjorie Taylor Greene parody account. It wasn't. It was actually her. Now Laura Loomer fires back and it's just like, hey, I've got receipts that say that you're, that the common word used around your office is, the word, the N word is used constantly and it's coming from you on a regular basis. So it's funny that you're calling me a racist when you're also a racist, right? And Laura Loomer doesn't.
That's the greatest defense ever. Right? That's my whole Weinstein
Laura
calls
Loomer
Cosby a rapist. Okay, you're both shit.
Right, Laura Loomer at no point denied that she herself was a racist. She was just like, but hey, you're one too.
Right.
Which is interesting, and what does that mean? I don't know. It's sort of a crabs in the barrel sort of situation. I don't think it really shifts anything one way or another. What I did find interesting though is that I really hadn't said or thought about Marjorie Taylor Greene in what feels like months. So she had kind of faded to the wayside, and I think that whole thing with Kevin McCarthy took the wind out of her sails. And sort of kind of neutered her in the party, and they're just like, all right, well, that didn't work, and it is your fault, so shut the fuck up. And I think that's what we're seeing with her. I think she maybe is trying to evolve and grow up a little bit, right? But I also think that and maybe, because look, Trump is surrounding himself with the Laura Loomers and the Nick Fuenteses and.
Well, I thought Nick Fuentes though turned on Trump, didn't he?
Jim, come on, man.
Dude,
I don't know. It's all soap opera bullshit. But the point is, we know that they have a relationship. We know that he's literally sat down at dinner with them. We see Laura Loomer was at.
Loomer's right on his,
right. She's literally physically attached to Trump. There are multiple pictures where he's constantly hugging her and everything else. And she just looks so fucked up. She had so much surgery done to her face, injections in the lips, cheeks. She literally looks like the Jigsaw mask character from the movie Saw. Jim, it's not. I'm not joking.
I have not seen an up close of her. I've only heard what she said with still photos. I'll take a look.
You have. Jim, then you haven't seen her. There's no way you.
I'm going to do this live.
please do, because there's no way that you've seen that woman and your reaction is, oh, well, I don't know.
Well, again, every time I've seen anything out of her, it's been a headshot and.
I mean, if your initial reaction isn't "Oh God," then
well, hold on, I'm trying.
I mean,
oh boy, okay.
Okay, I was about to
She's
say.
31.
Yeah. Yes. Now you see it.
Okay, yeah.
Now you see it. Do you see?
Wow, like
Do you see the things that I have done?
That is a 31-year-old with lots of injections in the lips for sure.
I don't know what's going on with her cheeks.
Okay, I mean, yeah, she. All right, but appearance. All right, we're not shallow, Steve. We're not going to say just because she looks like the Joker.
Okay, first of all, I am shallow as fuck.
Okay, yeah, you are.
And second of all, yes, she does look like the Joker. But yeah,
Why
I mean,
so serious, Steve?
I mean, but this is the comedy of fools that this guy has around him, and it just like I don't. It baffles me that people take these people seriously to the point where they have access to a person who is running for president of the United States and that has a legitimate chance to win.
And the scary thing is, they not only take them seriously or give them a chance to win. You can't go around my neighborhood, which is a pretty diverse neighborhood, without once an hour seeing someone drive by with at least 4 Trump-related flags flying from the back of their car.
I mean, well, first of all, this is Ohio. Now
there is that.
It's Ohio. Yeah, we live in Cleveland, and Cleveland has been pretty blue for a while, and it's Democratic city. But you got plenty of people who are out from the more rural areas, rural counties that move into Cleveland. And you also have just, middle-aged to older white people that are, that just want to be butthurt and want to be victims and are going to navigate towards Trump. What is the word I'm looking for? Not navigate.
Gravitate.
Gravitate, yes, sorry. That are going to gravitate towards Trump. And they do. And I mean, look, for me, I don't care where people are politically, but it just, when I look at Trump and I look at what MAGA is and the people that are the mouthpieces for it, I just don't see any of them, including Trump, as like serious people that are truly out to make things better. And, you look at people like Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller had an exchange with a Venezuelan reporter, and he completely loses his mind on this reporter. Like, I got to send it to you.
Yeah,
I wish I had the audio for us to pull up here on the show. But it is, I mean, the guy is, you want to talk about somebody being unhinged. It's just, it's disturbing for, like, looking at how messed up some of these people are in the Trump orbit, and then realizing how much access and how close they would be and have been, to the president of the United States, who's got access to nuclear codes, who has to deal with foreign leaders. Going back to the debate, how about Trump when giving an example of a foreign leader that supports him?
Erdogan.
Dude, what? Like you go to the leader of fucking Hungary, like,
who is as close to a Nazi-esque dictator as there is in the world, right? I mean, yes. I don't think he even tries to just not deny that. I mean, he is a strongman dictator with very scary goals, and yeah, that's your go-to guy there, Don. Great.
Yeah, I mean, I just, again, for me, it's just hard to take it serious. Like, you don't want to attack people for their, political beliefs and everything else. But then at the same time, when you look at the people who they're putting their faith in and who they have these,
they admire,
they worship.
Yeah, that was going to say, that was my next word.
I mean, like that's just the. that's the thing that gets me, and that's where I just shake my head, because it's just like, so I'm supposed to take you serious when you clearly do not take any of this serious based off the people that you support, right? And then they'll come after you and say, "Oh my God, I mean, I take it the most serious," right? And they even take on Trump's sort of, over exaggerating, big bodacious, like, you'll never meet a person that's more serious than me about this, right? And it's just it's a sad thing for our country, but the reality is you got to push back. Now, look, I've said it multiple times, right? I'm not in love with the Democrats. Like, I'm not in love with some of Kamala Harris's policies. They really should have pushed where they really should have pushed her is, talking about guns, right? Like, she got away with saying, we're not going to take away.
I own guns. I own guns.
Tim Walz owns guns. We're not taking anybody's guns. Like, you literally said that you support a national buyback of guns and that it should be mandatory, but the only bright side of it that you said is that people should get the value of the guns that they turn in, as opposed to what they do now. You go in and turn a gun in and they give you a $20 gift card. They should have pushed back on her on that and told her to explain what her gun policies are. That is an area where they really should have held her to task, but they didn't. But I don't know.
No, that's good. That's a good point. I mean, we've talked about guns and the Democratic Party's failures as on that as a political issue, and I did think it was good that she said Tim Walz is a gun owner. I'm a gun owner. We're not going to take away your guns. But you're right. They didn't follow up with,
because my follow up would have been, what gun do you own?
Right.
If you're a gun owner, just what gun do you own?
Guns.
Right, gun or guns. What type of gun? Right?
Yeah,
is it a handgun? Is it a shotgun? Is it a rifle? Like, if it's a handgun, what type of handgun is it? Is it a Glock? Is it Smith & Wesson? Like, now, a moderator's not going to do that, but I think...
But she should step up and do that in some political forum. Like, she needs to do interviews. She needs to get out there and keep herself in the spotlight, and she needs to answer things like that. Like, this came up in the debate. I own a Glock model, blah blah blah, for personal protection, and I'm unlike most people. I'm surrounded by the Secret Service all the time, so I don't need to worry about personal protection the way a normal citizen does. And I support a normal citizen's right to protect themselves.
Right. And then, but they should also talk about, like, so what is your policy? Like, like you've talked about it, right? Like, they should force her to define what is an assault weapon and why she believes they need to be taken away. And if it's like, well, citizens don't need this, and it's just like, okay, fine. Like, I completely disagree with her theory on that, right? Like,
sure.
I mean, here's a simple thing, right? I'm sorry, but the toothpaste is out of the tube. You're not putting that back in. Right?
Meaning there's so many guns out there that...
And AR-15, like, there's just so many, like, that whole idea. And if what you want to do is, like, all right, fine, because people's answer is, well, you shut down the manufacturers and you sue them and you say they can't do this and you can't do that. I'm sorry, that has tones of the past, of people we don't like, right? And I'm sorry, you can't. And this is my whole thing with the gun thing. Do not sit here and tell me that you're going to take my guns and limit my access and say, oh, you can only have this type of gun. When out of your same mouth, you're telling me that the police are corrupt. We need wholesale changes in our criminal justice system, starting with the police, how they engage with people, how they interact with people, how they respond to calls in certain neighborhoods, how they deal with crime in general, right? Like, we need this big overhaul of a system because it's rotten to its core, right? But at the same time, you're going to say you're going to take my guns away, right, or limit my access to what weapons I can use, but those motherfuckers get to keep a whole-ass arsenal, right, where they could do whatever the fuck they want, and you're telling me that those people are also the bad guy, right? Like, I don't see how that makes any sense, right? And the police are sitting there, and the police themselves are saying, right, like, our job is to protect property. Our job is not to protect and serve, right? Mike Wood Jr., a fucking cop for however long, told you, like, look, police job isn't to protect you, right? Nowhere in any manual does it say anything about protect and serve. It just looks good on the cars. That's not the oath that they take, right?
Yeah, you're right.
So if that's the case, and I have to take some reasonable responsibility about my own personal safety, if it's my safety, my life, you are not going to tell me what I can and cannot use to protect and defend my life, my family, and my property. And that is my whole thing, right? Because then once you start to limit that, then all of a sudden I become vulnerable. Because if you know I'm limited, right, but the people out there who don't play by the rules are saying, well, you're limited, but I don't give a fuck about laws and rules, so I'm going to go and get whatever I can, right? Well, now I'm outgunned, right? And this idea that someone is going to attack me with a gun is not fucking some ghost story, right? Every single day people are attacked and people are assaulted in their own homes every single fucking day across the country. Right?
Well, and I mean, to your point, you started with the toothpaste is out of the tube. So if you were recreating the whole world and you could just say, okay, we're starting from ground zero, everything goes away, and then that's a different argument. That's a different argument, but that's not the reality. And unfortunately, and politicians, and I think Kamala Harris is definitely guilty of this. They gravitate to terms like we don't need assault weapons, and to your point, define that. But define it, because often Steven Crowder, who I think is an absolute piece of trash, would have a field day going to college campuses and saying I'm pro-gun, change my mind, and he would put literally the same firearm on a table, one with a composite stock, one with a wooden stock, and say, is this an assault weapon? Composite stock, yes. Wooden stock, no. Yep. It's the same fucking thing.
Yep.
And so this is where Democrats fuck up, is they take what they think is a popular stance on guns based on their East Coast, West Coast bias, where if you're going around Manhattan, getting rid of all assault, if you go around Manhattan and say, should we get rid of assault weapons, you're going to probably get a definite majority, if not overwhelming majority, of people who will say, absolutely, we don't need that shit. Come to Cleveland, Ohio, and you're not going to get the same response. Go to a small town outside of Cleveland, Ohio, you're getting a very different answer. Yeah. And again, when you put out there the tell me what an assault weapon is, you can come up with a definition. They did in '94 with the Clinton assault weapons ban, and gun manufacturers just said, okay, we'll now start building new products that don't.
It was a fully automatic weapon. Right, they got rid of fully automatic weapons for the most. There were some other.
There was magazine restrictions and other things.
Other stuff. Okay, fine. Right, and people are just like, oh, well, they got rid of that assault weapons ban, and all of a sudden, like, guys, guess what? You still can't go out and get a fully automatic gun.
No,
you
can.
A
special permit.
You can, but it is a pain in the ass.
Thousands of dollars, I'm told. Now, I have no reason to have a fully automatic weapon.
Now, there's a little workaround there. But as a person who shoots on a regular basis, full auto sounds cool and it's real fun at the range to just rip, but it's not overly, it's not tactically effective.
Tactically practical.
Tactical practical. Just because it's hard to control, it's hard to aim, right? Like you're just shooting
30 rounds in half a second, and
it's expensive as fuck. But I mean, like,
no, I didn't mean that. I was mean like controlling where you're shooting matters way more than how many rounds you put out of a gun.
Yeah.
And with a fully automatic weapon,
I mean, speed does matter in some of these situations, but like you work with semi-automatic weapons enough, like you can fire plenty fast, right? Like over the last 4 or 5 years, my speed with my rifles my speed and accuracy combined has increased tenfold because of the amount that I train with them. And then I messed around with a binary trigger, and that is a different ballgame because you're firing. It allows you to basically do 3-round bursts.
Okay.
And it might as well be full auto, and it's pretty wild, right? I actually took it out. It's like you have to change your bolt carrier group in your rifle, and you basically have a full. It's a different type of trigger, and then you have a full auto bolt carrier group, and then you can drop the binary triggers in, but the better ones, there's a little bit more gunsmithing that goes along with it, along with the BCG. But you end up going through a lot of rounds, and I don't necessarily think that they're necessary. It was fun to play around with. It wasn't that expensive to try, but it's definitely not on my primary rifle anymore. But anyway.
We've gone off track. Well, let's stay on the policing topic for a minute because Miami Dolphins wide receiver Tyreek Hill was cuffed and detained on the side of the road outside of the stadium before their game on Sunday. And then they went on to lose on Thursday night to my Buffalo Bills, but that's a different discussion.
Wait, hold on. I'm sorry. Listen, this is Stephen Miller.
Okay.
You're going to be the first to get thrown out of here. I mean, you've seen case after case, these heartbreaking tragedies. Those ones are going to get found and deported. See, look at this Venezuelan gang. You have a Venezuelan gang that is taking over entire apartment buildings in Aurora, Colorado, and that's responsible, by the way, for some of the most heinous crimes that have happened all over the United States. The crime rate in Venezuela is down, I believe, a little bit over 60% over the last several years.
Are you trusting the official figures from the Venezuelan dictatorship?
Let's put it this way. If you're a dictator of a poor country with a high crime rate, wouldn't you send your criminals to our open border?
That wasn't my question. Are you trusting the figures of the dictatorships? Those are Maduro numbers.
I am believing that it is in the interest of a criminal dictator to let his criminals out of their jails and come to our country.
Do you have numbers, real numbers, not the dictatorship
numbers? The Venezuelan gangs that you've seen the CCTV footage. I have a question. Who do you think? Answer me this.
My family is from Venezuela. I know very well the situation of Caracas and many other cities.
Tell me, who were the people with the high-powered rifles in the hallway of that apartment building? Who were they?
They were gangsters from Venezuela.
Right. No American community.
But I was asking to you about figures, numbers, facts.
To you is the facts are the dead bodies. The facts are...
You said that Caracas has a lowest crime rate than the USA.
The facts are the mutilated bodies. The facts are the people in the morgues that are dead.
I was asking you about Caracas and the numbers in Caracas. Are you trusting the numbers of the dictatorship
I am trusting the fact that Kamala Harris is letting illegal immigrants into this country who are raping and murdering children.
I had been very respectful. Why are you jelly?
Do you know who Jocelyn Ungri is? Do you know who she is?
Do you know how many people is experiencing violence in Caracas?
Who is she? Who is Laken Riley?
Who is yelling again?
Because I'm yelling because children are being raped and murdered.
I was just asking for figures, and you have not replied to me about those figures.
Murder. Do you know who Kayla Hamilton is?
Do you trust the numbers of Nicolas Maduro in masking again?
I trust a ruthless dictator will empty his prisons and send their criminals to our country.
Do you trust his numbers?
The most dangerous gang in Venezuela is...
Do you trust Nicolas Maduro?
I trust that he does not want his criminals to be...
So you believe in his numbers?
I believe he's sending his criminals to our country.
And do you think that the crime rate in Venezuela has decreased?
Stephen Miller's out of his fucking mind. Such a weird guy.
He is a weird guy.
Anyway, I'm sorry. I just thought that was. I mean, this guy is going to be Trump's guy at the White House,
right? I mean,
that guy, Stephen Miller.
So we've not really hit on this as much as I wish we would have. So many military leaders have come out against Trump, including General Milley, John Kelly, and there's like 10 high-ranking military officers who served under Trump's administration who have said this guy is unfit for office. In 2016, he put those people into a position of power. In 2024, he's not going to listen to the Mark Milleys and the John Kellys. And I mean, I can't stand John Bolton, but he's at least a sane human. I think he's a piece of trash, but he's a sane human. And those guys are by the wayside. If Trump gets back in, Stephen Miller might be a moderate in his administration.
Anyway, so
that's
back
a bold statement. But
back to Tyreek Hill. So what happened was apparently Tyreek Hill was speeding. Allegedly, he was going 100 miles an hour in
like a 35 or something,
like that. I don't know. I've never seen like the official thing why he was pulled over, but like it's just people have reported.
Right.
Not even. I haven't even seen reports. I've only seen social media people saying that he was speeding. I haven't seen anything official. And any other reports saying that the purpose of the stop. So I don't think we need to debate that. But what we do know is that the police had pulled him over. They asked him. They spoke to him. He had his window down. The officer was aggressive when he was speaking to him. So Tyreek Hill rolls his window up. The officer bangs on the window, demands that he rolls the window down. Tyreek Hill doesn't roll it down. So then they say, all right, we're going to pull you out of the car. We're going to arrest you. Tyreek Hill, opens the door. He's getting out of the car with his license. He's moving kind of slow. I think I can't believe he said this, but, they tell him to move, faster. He's like, I just had surgery. I'm like, dude, you're literally going to go play in an NFL game.
As one of the fastest players in the league.
Now, to his credit, look, when you're in season, and especially coming out of camp, I still to this day, as a guy who played, your body does feel like hot garbage. Even before a game, there's a process you go through to get ready to play. Even to practice, you literally drag yourself in, you start to get warmed up, you stretch, you start to move around, and then, okay, all right, fine, you're ready to go, right? First thing in the morning, rolling out of bed, you go, you take a shower, you get in the car, you're maybe not moving as fast as you, especially for him, as you would normally, but I just thought that was a bold statement. But nonetheless, he goes to get out of the car, and as soon as he goes to get out of the car, they snatch him, they throw him on the ground, knee in the back, forcing him into handcuffs, making a big scene. The officer is going way overboard. Calais Campbell pulls over. He's got Jonnu Smith in the passenger seat. He's like, hey, you got my teammate on the ground. What's going on? They start screaming and yelling at him. He's like, all right, fine, I'll move. And the guy's like, you know what? Screw you. You're going too. And they handcuff Calais Campbell, which I'm just like, dude, just grab that dude by the face and mush him. But you can't do that, right? These cops, and it was clear that it was a power trip. They knew who those guys were.
You think they did? Okay.
You think the sheriffs in Miami-Dade don't know who every single player on that team is?
You know what? Steve.
And especially a guy like that. They knew exactly who he was, and they knew exactly what they were doing. That was a show of force, right? These,
I was going to give them the ignorance defense. I can't believe that they would know, oh shit, this is Tyreek Hill on his way to play a game. We're on body cam. Everyone's going to see this, and they did that anyway. Okay. I'm not going to go so far as to say I disagree with you. That's not how I took it, because I thought to myself,
that's naivety on your part.
Oh, maybe. Because my thought was, if they had any fucking clue
they know
who they were doing this to.
Are.
All right.
There's a reason that they know who these guys are. They salivate waiting for their names to pop up, running plates or, waiting for, it just.
That's the point. They would have run the plate, and I'm assuming the plate says Tyreek Hill. And if you're into fantasy football or alive in this world, you know who Tyreek Hill is. I didn't think about the plates because.
And I'm sure the cop is a Trump supporter, right? He's a Cuban cop a Cuban cop down in Miami. He's a Trump supporter. And, what better way to show how MAGA you are than to pull over Tyreek Hill and give him a ticket? Bonus points if you can arrest him.
Right, cuff him. Okay, Steve, I did not see it from that perspective. And you're making sense. But I'm now putting myself in let's say everything you've just said is right. That is such a stupid miscalculation on their part. Because this isn't going to go well. Whether you think Tyreek Hill's a jerk, what you did was way over aggressive.
Right. And there were people everywhere watching it. Right now, Tyreek Hill was a jerk. He should have rolled his window down. But now we start to get into the law a little bit, right? And due process and whatever. Right? Do I necessarily have to roll my window down? Still communicate, can still hear you, right?
Right.
No, look, the windows are tinted
windows.
Right, tinted windows, safety aspects, all that other stuff. Tyreek Hill was in the wrong for not rolling his window down, but two wrongs don't make a right. Right? There's still a way to deal with that situation, de-escalate the situation, and it's just wrong. And then, frankly, police have this idea in their head that if you're not nice to me, I can then do whatever the fuck that I want. If I want to snatch you out of the car, throw you on the ground, throw my knee in your back, try to intentionally rip your shoulder out of socket while I'm handcuffing you, I'm allowed because you didn't show me the proper respect. You
did not respect my authority.
Come on, man. One time without cutting in. But, if you don't respect their authority and you go through because what they do is they say, because you weren't nice, because you were disrespectful, I take that as a threat. I now fear for my life, so I now have the right to disregard your due process rights and your civil liberties, and now I could step over that line because you weren't nice, and not nice equals threatening to me, and threatening to me is automatically I fear for my life, right? So now I can trample your civil liberties, and I'm bold enough to do it in front of national media, right? And, hundreds and hundreds of fans, right? And, oh, by the way, I'm going to grab your teammate too if he wants some of this. I don't think it's too much to ask for that cop to be fired. He should be fired. Will he be? I don't know. Maybe he gets some sort of extended suspension. I think the guy should be fired. That guy, to me, is a danger.
I mean, he definitely illustrated a willingness to overstep his authority. By the way, I interrupted with a South Park reference, and you, among all, should allow that.
But
okay, I got to say authorita. I thought, again, Tyreek Hill could have handled it better, sure. But,
I'm sorry, but look, the police, I don't care if you're a rookie cop or a 20-year vet, you have the responsibility to take the fucking higher ground. You're the professional in that situation.
Sure.
Right? That doesn't mean you're the one who loses your shit and goes overboard. You're the one who's supposed to de-escalate to keep the community safe. Once you start to go and snatch a guy and grab a guy, right, if he starts to fight back, you now endanger yourself, the other officers, the people around, right? That could be collateral damage. What if you guys decide to pull your guns and start shooting people with the number of people around because you feel so threatened, because you're being so aggressive, right? All these guys do is talk about how dangerous it is and they just want to go home to their families. If your goal is to just go home every night, then it seems like the smart move would be to fucking de-escalate situations instead of escalating them to show how big, tough, and strong you are and how everyone needs to respect your fucking authority. It's bullshit that they act this way, right? And they want to get away with, this is how we've always done it, right? And all this immunity and all this other bullshit. People need to start, and people have been fighting back against the police, right? I don't want to hear about, well, if you do that, then I can't do my job. Then don't do your job, quit your job, and go do fucking construction. We need laborers. I'm tired of these fucking whiny-ass cops talking about they can't do their job if they can't fucking beat people and snatch people out of their cars.
With impunity.
Right.
Right.
With impunity.
Yeah.
It's fucking absurd.
You know where I've been when I've heard police officers make that argument to me, and it's just I'm not going to get into a full-out argument with you right here in a public place, but I'm not going to acknowledge and give you credence for saying, I can't do my job because now I'm being watched. I'm like, you know what? Every job I've ever had, to some degree, I've been watched. And if they had a camera on my cubicle when I was working for whichever pharmaceutical company I was working for at the time, would stuff have happened that I wouldn't want to get played on national TV? Hell yeah.
I mean, listen, I'm in development and construction. It's like construction workers saying, well, dude, we can't do our job if OSHA is going to be here and watch us do it.
Right.
We can't do that.
Right.
You can't build the building if the people who make the... What?
Yeah.
What the fuck are you talking
We
about?
actually have to follow the rules of proper construction. You think we can do our job? That's why the
I would hope
rules
so.
exist.
Right. I would assume that things would go better, right?
Okay, we got to wrap things up, but I do want to talk about two things real quick. First of all, I said I would do a weekly Survivor Pool update. I did stick with the Cincinnati Bengals in one and went with the Bills in the other. The Bengals lost to the fucking Patriots, so the big Survivor Pool
I gave you.
Hold on.
Jim,
Stop it. Stop it.
No, No. Don't get in that. I told you. I said, that's a bad idea. I said, T. Higgins is hurt.
Yes, you did.
I said, Jamar Chase hasn't practiced.
I understand.
Right? They had offensive linemen hurt. I was like, look, I don't know if that's a good pick. I wouldn't go with that pick.
All right, well.
Don't blame me.
I'm not. No one's blaming you. I'm just not saying that because you said, "Oh, I'm nervous." I was nervous about it too.
Here's the deal.
All right.
What did I do? I went on Caesars and I bet the Patriots. I didn't bet them plus 3.5. I bet them on the money line.
Okay,
that's how
plus
faithful.
8.5, by the way.
Yeah, whatever. But either way, I bet them. I didn't care what it was because I was like, they're gonna fucking win, and I bet them on the money line. So
well, good for you. Good for you. I lost that one. I now have one survivor pool
Ladies and
left.
gentlemen, please go back to earlier in the show where I said the thing that Jim hates the most is when Steve is right.
It doesn't happen often.
All the fucking time.
So this week I'm going with the Ravens over the Raiders.
That's a good call.
I mean, West Coast team coming to the East Coast, they're like 9-point underdogs.
I mean,
Or
especially
Ravens-
if they're going to start with Gardner Minshew against the Ravens. Like,
Yeah,
come
yeah.
on.
All right, so that hopefully pushes me on to week number 2. I think 34 of 60 people took the Bengals in the other pool, so it's now 26. Yes, you did give the warning. I had the concerns. It didn't work out. Last, we just have to say, rest in peace, James Earl Jones. Mm-hmm. I mean, James Earl Jones is an iconic figure. The voice of Darth Vader, the voice of CNN, star of many movies. Really a force in entertainment, Hollywood, however you want to say it.
Yep. I mean, and Broadway and voice acting and he had lots of powerful roles even, prior to, my first interaction with him is Star Wars, obviously.
Sure.
As the voice of Darth
But
Vader.
you didn't know who he was.
No, I
So
didn't.
mine was Conan the Barbarian.
Right. That was one for me where it, the movie just scared me. That whole thing was just weird.
I love that movie so much. First R-rated movie I got to see in the theater.
It's good. No, it's not good. I shouldn't say that. I love the movie as well, but just as a kid, it was a little bit much. I mean, because I was
Probably 6.
something like that, or 3, or something like that. Anyway, one of my favorite movies with him is The Sandlot. I love that movie.
He's the neighbor.
And I love, he was the mean old blind man, and he turns out to be like this sweethearted man with this great backstory and history and everything else. And then obviously he was in Field of Dreams as well. And
I can't watch the final 5 minutes of Field of Dreams without crying, but his character in that movie is so heartwarming, touching, compelling. I mean, just to see him having gone from an activist to just pure frustration and then sort of getting his mojo back. Such a great character. And when he starts spraying the bug spray thing at Kevin Costner, go back to the 60s, the future doesn't want you. I laughed out loud, and when he's about to beat Kevin Costner with a crowbar, and he stops him by yelling, "You're a pacifist!" And he's like, got a crowbar cocked back, he's like, "Damn it, I'm a pacifist," with a crowbar that I'm about to smash a person's hand with. I mean, just such a great character, great movie.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm getting a little choked up. But anyway, he lived till 93. He was active very late in his life.
and Coming to America too.
That's right. King Jaffe. How can you forget that? And just an icon.
Yeah.
And we traded some text messages about Gabriel's Fire, a very short-lived show he was in. There's a scene in that show where he first gets out of prison and he goes to a hot dog vendor and he just has this moment where he's like freeze, like, "I like hot dogs." And the vendor says something to the effect of, "You got to pay for it, pal." He goes, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not used to dealing with money." And the vendor says, "Yeah, me either." And James Earl Jones just like laughs and is just staring at this hot dog like, "I'm free and this is awesome." And I remember as a teenager watching that and being literally getting choked up. It was just an emotional, moving scene and just a phenomenal actor. And I've used the word icon, I think, 4 times now, so let's stick with that. And so rest in peace, James Earl Jones.
Yes.
With that, we are at Whiskey Congress on Instagram and X, formerly known as Twitter, and we're done.